Welcome back to Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Swall.
And I'm Paul Ogden.
This is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, August 12th, 2012. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing fine.
Good. This is our second segment. With us today are Zach Adamson, who's an at-large member of the City-County Council here in Indianapolis. Welcome,
And that
Zach.
doesn't mean he's a large fellow. That means he represents the entire county.
That's true.
Right.
And also with us is Jeff Cox, frequent guest. Zach, what's your contact information, the City-County Council, and also your business?
The City-County Council phone number is 327-4242. My email is zach.adamson@indy.gov. That's Zach with an H, Z-A-C-H.
How do you spell Adamson?
A-D-A-M-S-O-N.
Who was the second president of the United States?
John Adams.
What's your favorite color? And Jeff, you're an
that wasn't really a fair question since we named all our chickens after First Ladies, so we had
Interesting.
I'm not touching that one.
Abigail Adams.
Not touching that one.
Also with us is Jeff Cox. He's been a frequent guest here. Jeff, welcome back. What's your contact information? And I will say, first of all, you have a book coming out next year, too.
Yep, it's called Rising Sun, Falling Skies. It's about the disastrous Java Sea campaign in the early part of the Pacific War and World War II. My law practice, jrcoxlawllc.com, and you can reach me by phone at 317-797-7273.
We're talking about, eventually we're going to talk about the partner benefits, the ordinance that's being proposed and passed, as I understand, by the City-County Council.
Not yet, tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow. But we wanted to talk generally about the City-County Council here in Indianapolis. A lot of people don't know what their City-County Council is here in the county. What is it, Zach?
The best way to explain it, the way I explain it to most people is, in Washington we have the president, who is the executive, and then we have Congress, which is the legislative body. Well, the City Council is a legislative body for city government. We're the fiscal body. It means we sort of allocate the funds to run the city government. We also do the basic ordinances that make the city go as well. So we put stop signs in and speed limits and whatnot, things like that.
How many members are on the council?
There are 29 members on the council. 25 of them represent districts. So every citizen of every resident rather has 5 city councilors. You have your district council that represents you and your neighbors, and you have 4 at-large councilors that represent the whole county.
And you are at large.
I'm one of those at large.
And how often does the City-County Council meet?
We meet approximately every 3 weeks, except in the summertime we give a little bit more space in between just because it's a busier time of year. And then we have committees that meet usually once between each council meeting.
Is there a specific day of the week that they meet?
Mondays. We always meet on Monday.
The full council.
The full council always meets on Monday at 7 o'clock.
And that's down in the City-County Council in the City-County Council meeting chambers, which is on the second floor.
The assembly room on the second floor.
And what committees do you serve on?
I serve on the Public Works.
I can hear the train in the background, the State Fair train. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's exciting. I serve on the Public Works Committee, the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee, and we combine the two, Metropolitan Development and Economic Development, into one committee, and the Community Affairs Committee.
What does the Community Affairs Committee do?
Community Affairs Committee was a long-standing committee that used to exist. The Republicans got rid of it the last time when they had control of the council, and the Democrats have brought it back. We deal with issues that are important to neighborhoods.
Republicans weren't worried about those. Yeah. Being sarcastic. So, anyway.
I wouldn't be, but go ahead.
You serve at large, and other individuals serve 1/25th of the city, basically.
Population-wise.
Do you find that it's very time-consuming to be at large compared to maybe being district council? I know you haven't been a district council.
Yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to. And I know some councilors have other obligations on the council that take a lot of their time, such as leadership. Like I know Maggie's our president, Brian's our vice president. Mike McClellan is a minority leader, so they've got extra responsibilities on the council as well that take up a lot of time. But an at-large councilor has, we've got 911,000 people that are in the county who want something from their city government, and we're responsible for being responsive to them.
So you should get 25 times the pay that the district councilors get, shouldn't you?
I would support such a proposal.
But not,
He is being joking here.
yeah, but not everyone in the county wants something from the government, and so it's not exactly 911,000. I might not want anything at all.
True.
So
I
that's,
just want to be left alone.
that's true. It's right to privacy. We won't get into that. You've just gotten on the City-County Council. Did you have any expectations before you got on there of what it was like?
Well,
And have those expectations been met, or
I think the one thing that I can say is that it's been a lot more rewarding than I thought it was going to be. I really am passionate about working with people in their communities and trying to improve the quality of life for people in Marion County. Something that I've been surprised about is how divisive some members of our council can be on issues that seem to be pretty common sense. Of course, common sense is subjective, but it does seem like there's friction when there ought not be. And but 95% of the things that we do on the council end up being pretty solidly unanimous.
and right now the division in terms of the members of the City-County Council is what in terms of party lines?
The Democrats currently control the council.
With how many?
With 16 members, and the Republicans have 13.
And we have a Republican mayor right now, Mayor Ballard, who has a veto power over the council. Is that
Sure.
right?
Sure, it takes 20 council votes to override a veto.
In terms of the committee meetings, how often do you have to do those?
Generally once between each council meeting. So we try to have our meetings. Now, lately we've been spacing them a little further apart just to make sure that we don't have meetings where there's just a single item on the agenda. And we're trying to save money as often as we can.
Sure.
And not having 9 people come together who are all getting paid for each committee meeting to come and talk about a single issue.
You talked about pay. How much? Obviously, it's public record. So
It's not polite.
how about what is the salary of a city-county councilor?
Down to the penny.
It's right around 11,000 a year.
11,000.
11 to 15,000.
You make extra for committee meetings?
No, that's including committee meetings. We get
Oh,
paid
does
for
it?
council
Okay.
meetings and committee meetings, but it ends up being right around between 11 and 15.
Wow.
Depending on how often your committee meets or whether you have leadership roles, I think it goes up higher than that. But most of it, I think, on the average is around probably 14,000.
And we've had a couple of issues this summer that have kind of heated up, and it's no pun intended.
But it was a dry heat.
It was a dry heat. Yeah. But actually, I don't care. That was heat. But we had the question of hotel workers and their rights.
Oh, yeah.
We discussed last week. And
We had a guest on. What was the name? Do you remember? Garcia?
Yeah, no, it's Fernando Gomez.
Gomez.
But he had been a hotel worker, and we discussed that issue last week. The other issue that's heated up is being over domestic partner benefits here.
I want to go back to the hotel workers.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's important to note that one of the women that testified at that council hearing was fired from her job. That's been pretty widely publicized since then. So.
I want to spend some
Wow.
time talking on this issue because we did talk about last week. The mayor's position, as I understand it, was and everyone says it's against the law to do the blacklisting. I mean, pretty much everyone's saying that. They said it's against the state law. I know Councilor Sandlin pointed that out during his talking on the issue. I think it's against the federal law too, antitrust, and they may have more teeth in that law.
And indentured servitude in general.
Well,
Right.
there is a state antitrust law.
Right, and actually I think that's what Sandlin was talking about. And I think we're moving ahead. What exactly was going on, or what was the allegation that was going on?
Well, the allegation really is that a lot of the hotels in Indianapolis have a company that they contract with to provide employees for their hotels, primarily housekeeping.
And hospitality service solutions, I think.
Well, there's a number of them in town, and that's the problem with doing these hearings where we don't really get a lot of evidence. We have a lot of testimony. There's a lot of finger pointing at the people that aren't there. So it was really difficult to assess exactly who was telling the truth because it was just everyone and their opinions.
Do you have subpoena powers in the committee meetings?
I'm
I don't
new
think
at
they
this.
do. And the testimony's not under oath. I mean, they don't swear people in. I don't think they do it at the state level either.
You can swear people in. I know
You can?
Yeah, I know they swear you in at the zoning hearings.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's evidentiary proceeding that can be appealed.
yeah.
So the idea behind the blacklisting was if you work for one of these employment agencies,
Yeah, and you go to work for a hotel, and it ends up not working out, or you want to add another hotel to your list of places that you're working in to supplement your income, and you go to that hotel directly, and this is what we were told, was that some of those hotels would say, sorry, I can't hire you because you're under contract with such
Whatever
and
the
such.
company is.
And the employment company, the temp agency is what they're called, and some of these people work for these temp agencies for a number of years, and that was another thing that I found questionable. But they say that they don't have a contract
you
with the
find
employees.
it questionable, make clear that you find it questionable
That you could have a
Because
long-term temporary
that
contract.
you wouldn't want to be in a long-term
Yeah.
temporary relationship. You
I
want to
mean,
move on to
the
better
idea
jobs.
is that you would temp for these hotels for a period of time, then you would end up working for them full time.
Which is typical of working at a
permanent.
temp agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it
And
as
you
it
can
normally
move
is.
from one job to another to improve your pay.
Sure, and that's what we were told was not actually happening. But the hotel temp agencies and the hotel management said that they don't have contracts with their employees. They have contracts between the hotel and the temp agencies, and so we continuously asked to see a copy of the contracts to verify that they didn't have portions of those contracts that said that you won't hire somebody that was temping at this other company out of this relationship that you have with that temp agency, and they refused to give it to us. And that's ultimately what really got me on the side of this whole issue was I really think that they should have been able to provide us with a copy of that, not necessarily something that's being utilized currently with signatures on it, just something that shows us that they don't in fact have these things that obligate companies to not hire their workers.
They outright refuse to give you copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of the ordinance would be to require that they turn those over to city legal to see if they're complying
Right.
with the ordinance. And the ordinance would ban those type of contractual relationships.
But what would the penalty be if they didn't provide
lose
those
their-
contracts? for
Well,
instance?
hotels are licensed by the city, so
And
that's
then,
where the enforcement comes in.
and then the mayor vetoed it.
Yes.
And the reason for vetoing it was we already had this is already against the law. The second is it's too burdensome. And Mark and I were like, it's too burdensome. How's it burdensome?
How's it burdensome if it's already the law?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But a lot of things don't make sense.
But they said that we don't have these provisions in our contract, but then they didn't want to
refused to
show
show
the
us,
contract. But to me, I'm not sure they would actually include that in the contract because I think it's obviously illegal.
I don't think
wouldn't
they
want
would
to
include
put
it. I don't think they would include it in the contract because those are good business people,
Yeah.
and they
I think that
would
was
never.
the logic that we were given. Surely we would never, because
We're good business.
Yeah, it would just
Excuse me, I'm sure they wouldn't, and don't call me Shirley.
Yeah,
It would be an understanding that was.
I think that's probably what it is. It's
Like
an
what happens in-
understanding.
probably you're right, but which
Yeah.
just drew an entirely new set of suspicions about those contracts.
What do you mean it happens in Lake County?
It's like the gentleman's agreement in baseball where they will not employ any black baseball players for years and years and years.
We're at the end of our second segment. We'll be back in just a minute. Thanks. Talking
Thanks for
about the
having
film.